evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Christmas, December, whatever holiday you celebrate or not, regular City Commission meeting, Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. At this time, I'm calling this meeting to order, and I'd like you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand for 10 seconds of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. We will start with our presentations. If the sheriff's representative would like to come up and give your report, we would love to have you.
Do you mind if I do roll call really quick?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilson?
You can still come up.
Commissioner Osborne?
Here.
Commissioner Bond?
Present.
Vice Mayor Bond?
Here.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes. Sheriff, if you'd like to come back up.
That's good. Appreciate it. Good evening, Council. My name is Sergeant Bolton with Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, and also good evening, members of the citizens of Indian Rock Beach that are present today. This evening, I'm going to present the November monthly analysis for from our Strategic Planning Division for all the different things that occurred within the city for required a police response. This is hot off the press, so I'm not sure if you had received this yet, but I think the email just came out just yesterday. But this would be for November. All right, the first things I'm glad to note is there were no murders, sex offenses, or robberies in the city in November. There were some assaults, and I looked through the cases, and the vast majority of those were either bar fights or domestic violence incidents. There were 2 burglaries, one of which was a stolen e-bike, and then the second one was a person that had trespassed on a property, used the homeowner's fire pit without their permission, and they qualified that as a burglary because they utilized the wood that was in the place. So, other than that, those were the 2 burglaries. A few larcenies. I looked for patterns in the city, see where they might be occurring, whether it's always out there, were they retail thefts or were they specific locations. There's no patterns when it comes to thefts for November. A few had occurred at CVS, usually stealing the beer and going back out to the beach is pretty common, but there's only 2 of those that occurred and there's no patterns there. There was a motor vehicle theft. That was actually two jet skis that were stolen with a trailer, and I'm pleased to report that those items were recovered and a suspect has been identified, but just not arrested as of yet. All right. In total, there were 17 people arrested during the month of November on various different charges. I'm pleased to report that people are being arrested for these crimes and not going unpunished and not unfound. So I'm glad that there are a variety of different arrests that were made. On various different charges here. Okay. In total, there were 696 events that occurred or deputies had responded to in Indian Rocks Beach for November, and the vast majority of these items were proactive policing enforcement, specifically directed patrols. If we have an issue along Bayshore Boulevard, we've had deputies out there conducting traffic enforcement during those times because we know that's been an issue with people speeding back there. So those would be included, those traffic stops along Gulf Boulevard. Those are self-initiated activities by our deputies, not calls for service, okay? But the vast majority of those, and including house checks, those are the vast majority of items that we perform for the city for the month of November. All right, when it comes to crashes, we only had three crashes in the city, and none of those were serious bodily injury or fatality crashes, so I'm pleased to report that too. In total, there are 206 citations and warnings in the city. 21 of them were parking violations, and then the other were citations or warnings for various violations.
Sounds like our parking violations are down, which I think is probably a good thing, but it's also a quieter time of the year.
Right, there has been a significant decrease in the amount of traffic on the roadway we've noticed, especially at this time of the year, especially coming into holiday season. So I expect that probably would pick up after the new year, or once it starts warming up a little bit more. So all in all, we're in a good spot this month, and I'm pleased to report everything that I've reported so far today. Does anybody have any questions or anything for me?
Any questions? Nope.
Nope. Questions? All right.
Thank you very
Thanks so much, appreciate it.
We'll move on to our report of the Pinellas Suncoast Fire and Rescue Department. This is Chief. How are you, Chief Joe?
Oh, well, how are you?
Davidson.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm here proudly to present the monthly report for November. In the month of November, there were 53 calls for emergency service to Pinellas Suncoast Fire Rescue in Indian Rocks Beach. 44 of them were emergency medical calls, and 9 of them were fire-related calls. District-wide, in the month of November, we responded to over 260 emergency calls, with 218 of them emergency medical and 42 of them fire-related. Also in the month of November, our inspection division, we conducted 54 annual inspections, 22 re-inspections, 2 plans reviews, and 29 short-term rental inspections. Those are really starting to pick up, the short-term rental inspections. The residents and the owners are registering properly. They're calling and asking questions. We're giving them the guidance, and so far it's been going smoothly. In public education, we had approximately 400 life safety contacts that we made through public education events throughout the district, and 700 hours of fire and medical training conducted in the month of November for our personnel. We were thankful we got to participate in the tree lighting that you had, and also the street parade on December 3rd, and we're planning to participate in the boat parade upcoming December 16th.
Are you going to have a boat?
We have a fire boat, yes we do.
Are you going to be on it?
Well, we're making arrangements so that we did it last year, that, you know, we follow the boats, not necessarily in the parade, but just to make sure if anybody gets into trouble or has any type of medical emergency, that we're on the water with them, and we just have to arrange the backfill. So that our personnel, the personnel that are on the fire engine here, they'll take the boat, and then we'll backfill to make sure that both areas are covered. But yeah, we did that last year, and it was pretty nice. We didn't get to decorate our boat so well. Some of the boats out there really were spectacular, but that was pretty cool.
You know, I got a very nice letter about how good the staff at the fire department and the city, as far as the inspections, everybody on your staff was polite. I think you got a copy
I
of that
think
letter
it was
too.
an elderly gentleman.
Yes.
Yes, he was very happy with our staff, both ends, from the city and from my fire prevention division. We hired an additional fire inspector, and her primary role is public education and the short-term rental inspection program, getting that going smoothly, and she's pretty much going to be the face of the department for public education. So hoping to bring her to one of the meetings or the next event. I know you've seen her. Her name is Stacy Schwab. Her husband has been working here for about 17 years. He's Division Chief Patrick Schwab, and they both are very committed to the cities and to the department. So pleasure to have them both on board. Also tomorrow, it's in Indian Shores, but you're welcome to stop by, say hello, stay a little while if you'd like, stay the whole time. But we're hosting a class from the Insurance Services Organization, and it's primarily a class for the fire department. But our upcoming project in the next year to 14 months is to have an ISO review. I believe that where we're at now, we're a Class 2 fire department, which only 3% of the fire departments in the nation are a Class 2 department. But where we have everything now, I believe that our next evaluation will be moved up to a Class 1. It's a very prestigious thing for your fire department, but it's also good for the business owners and the residents. It would affect your homeowners insurance rates and your business insurance rates as well. And we have about 40 40 personnel from various fire departments that are going to participate in this class. So you're welcome to stop by to Indian Shores from 8:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock, and you can actually learn about. There's a lot of things about why we do what we do and some of the things that we do. And then lastly, just want to make sure everybody has a happy holiday season and a blessed new year. And hoping to get to see you all before the new year and sit down and talk about some things that we need to move the department and the city forward.
Thank you, Chief.
Right.
Does anyone have any questions for Chief Davidson tonight?
Do you have any extra seats on that boat?
Who are they for?
Yeah,
I can see that would actually be, you know, I would like to invite you all to come and see our marine operations anyways, and that could be a good opportunity. I know I said this before, well, we have the busiest marine units in the entire county. We have the fireboat that's on the intercoastal side, and then we have inflatable rib. That's the only beach launchable vessel throughout the county, so that's extremely busy unit. I think last year we had 140 marine responses, and then in the next 2 weeks we had a very generous donation made from some homeowners in Bel Air Shore, and we're going to be purchasing a jet ski with a rib on it for water rescue, and it's a faster deployment that we get straight out to the beaches and into the Gulf waters within 3 minutes. So we'll have that purchased in the next few weeks, and everybody will be trained up, and it should be in service in March. And then ultimately the goal is to have one at each fire station. So right now our mainland station that's going to be under construction in the next few months, we'd like to have one there as well, because when the beach stations are out and they need to get a vessel, they have to drive to the fire station to get it, right, or to the marina to get it, where if they had a jet ski at their station already hooked up to a truck, they could just go right to the scene, so that would save some time. So a lot of good things that are occurring. Some of them just take some time to get in place. You know how that goes. But again, thank you all, and hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year, and to all our citizens the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks. Before we move on to our public comment, I just want to say a special shout out to Commissioner Denise Hosberg, who will be our next mayor. She will be sworn in either at the end of March or the beginning of April, and congratulations, I'm so happy for you, and you're going to be a great mayor. I'm looking forward to it. And she's already told me she's going to use the gavel, so I'm just letting you know that. So that's, we'll go on to public comment now, which is 3-minute time limit. Any member of the audience may come forward, give their name and address, and state any comment or concern that they may have regarding any matter over which the City Commission has control, excluding agenda items. All statements made to the City Commission shall be made to the City Commission as a whole, not directed to any individual City Commissioner, and no personal or slanderous remarks shall be permitted. No speaker shall be interrupted, and no debate shall occur between the speaker and the City Commission. At this time, is there anyone who would like to come forward? Hello, Diane.
Hello, Diane Daniel, 309 10th Avenue. I can attest to the relative ease of the fire safety inspection. It was a wonderful process when we finally got down to it. It was a lot of prep, but it worked well. So I just wanted to share just some information that I had through the short-term rental registration, just to let y'all know. I realized that once again there's legislation that could make everything moot. I know that's happening. And I also know that you're going to have software that's going to be scrubbing listings. But I recently started the process of contracting with sort of a property manager light. It's an online property service called Evolve. They're quite large now. They did not know about the VRR process, and that number needs to go on the listings. So I checked with Mike Kelly to make sure that was the case, and I let them know, and I connected them with Mike. The services like Airbnb and VRBO are platforms, so they're not property managers, and those are self-regulating. Like, it's up to me to put the information I need. But any other property so those are platforms, but any property manager is bound to follow the rules. So the more that the city can get that out there, the better, because they were not going to, once they found out that was the rule, they would not list me if I didn't have the VRR number, because they're liable. So it's just a good way to check, is what I'm saying. So the more property managers understand that that needs to be on the listing, they will not list the listing if they don't have that number. But I guess it's up to the city to make sure that everyone knows. So anyway, just wanted to let y'all know that. I think that was the only thing I was going to mention. Yep.
Diane, what's the name of your company again that,
Evolve.
no,
Oh.
no, the one that, where you get take the food from the short-term rentals?
Oh, my nonprofit?
Yes, what's that called?
Vacationdonations.org. We can talk about that another time if you'd like.
Well, I just real briefly mention it again here while you're up there. The reason I wanted her to mention it too was it's pretty innovative, and just kind of tell everybody what it is, real quick.
Do I get more than 19 seconds?
No, 19.
Okay. So I'm really a resource to reduce waste, food waste and item waste in short-term rentals. I will use this opportunity to say that I'm having 2 citywide food drives, one in February and one in March, to raise awareness and also to get a lot of food from vacation rentals.
Perfect. See there, thank you very much.
You did it.
The reason why I wanted to tell you about that is I'm finishing my degree in public policy, and I did my presentation on, we were given a hat and we had to pick out from my professor a subject, and the one that I picked up had to do with waste, and so it had to do with sanitation, and I used Diana as an example of an innovative project that, because our landfill before I think it's in 80 years, will be full, and so they're trying to find different ways of creating a situation where it lasts longer and longer and that we don't have as much waste. And so I told the class all about Diana and her innovative idea and what she's doing, and how that from the short-term rentals that she is collecting food and giving it to different areas, and all the other things that you're collecting too, not just the toys.
I don't personally collect it.
Okay,
I connect.
put people together.
I'm a resource.
Yes. So anyway, I thought that was
Thank
cool,
you.
and the class really thought that was a great idea, and I tried to explain that, we're doing that, she's doing that on the beaches, but things like that can be done all over, the county, to have people that are having resources and trying to, help with the landfill situation. So, anyone else who'd like to come up? You have 3 minutes, talk on any item besides agenda items, please come forward. Hi, John.
Hello. John Fansfield, 448 Howard Drive South. Wishing you guys all happiness on these holidays, and congratulations to our soon-to-be mayor. One notable person in our community gave us a present that you guys are aware of now. Senate Bill 280, which is sort of a Damocles sword now over the head of our residents. I've read this bill and studied it. It is craftier than before, so I think it's a greater threat than what we had to deal with last year. And what we dealt last year, we just missed by a hair having that passed. But its passage will accelerate the death of our neighborhood. It's just ridiculous what's in the bill about how hard it is going to be for a city to enforce anything. Plus, it's being rushed through. You may be aware that the first committee hearing is tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for Senate committee, and there's a reduced number of committees that's coming through, so it's going to be harder to fight it again. What we need to do, based on this information, is ask ourselves, did local voices united inform us on how to write and when? I didn't get any information. I signed up like 3 times with them. I appreciate that the city has it on their website, but they don't seem to be doing anything. It would be great if there was a method so that residents could be informed when there's bills that are so disastrous that they could write the appropriate people on the committee. So I don't think we got voted, the voters didn't get informed, you probably didn't get informed about that the vote was gonna be tomorrow morning at 8:30 and who the committee members were and who to write to. So that's something that has to be looked into. There is one option we have that may be a ray of light. The drafting of the House bill is not completed as yet, and our local representative, Linda Cheney of St. Pete, may be involved in that. So if some people know it, it's a little bit easier to get a hold of her and contact her, and hopefully she'll be more aware of the disastrous effects of short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods. So that's basically it. If any of you know Linda Cheney and can speak with her, it would be good. If you want to put together something to help voters get involved in this, because it's appreciated that you and Kelly and I and other people have gone to Tallahassee, but the fact of the matter is, as FLC has told us, they know they're taking power away from you. They know you don't like it. So they're less inclined to be, they know what you're going to say. But voters are a different thing. Voters are what's going to keep them in office, and that's what they care about. So if you can work on, perhaps do a workshop and get an action plan together to battle this, because it will be destruction for Indian Rocks Beach neighborhoods if you don't. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward at this time? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public comment. We will move on to reports of, Dan, do you have a report tonight?
I do not have a specific report. Greg's, the city manager's report, was included in the packet.
Right.
And I, of course, would be happy to attempt to answer any questions if there were some.
Are there any questions for Dan tonight? No. Vice Mayor, you good?
Nope.
Okay. With that, we'll go on to our city attorney, Mr. Mora.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As alluded to in public comment, Senate Bill 280 was filed excuse me, on November 30th, 2023 by Senator DeCiglia. I provided you each with correspondence summarizing some of the more salient points of the legislation as it relates to the local jurisdiction. The correspondence I sent you on December 7th explicitly noted in bold and underlined text that it was on the agenda for the Regulated Industries Committee on December 13th, so that's tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. In response to that, it's my understanding the city manager, with the mayor's execution, has already sent, drafted, and transmitted correspondence on behalf of the city expressing its displeasure with the proposal. So the city has acted in a timely fashion and is continuing to monitor the developments related to this excuse me, Senate bill and any House corollary. As noted, it was assigned to 2 committees, so this would be its first. As a reminder about the legislative process, and as we have some newer members, for the Florida legislature, it has to get through all its committees before it is heard in the full legislature. Before it reaches the floor of the Senate, it would have to clear the second assigned committee, which is the Fiscal Policy Committee. Once it clears presuming it clears both and passes both committees, it would be heard by the Senate in full at some point during session, which commences in February, I believe. And it would have to have a House corollary. And often, even if there's a House bill filed that doesn't align, they'll make amendments to try to make them align. That's why this proposal actually did not succeed last session, was the House and Senate could not agree on language, even though it got through the committees that it needed to get through for purposes of being on the floor. So we are continuing to monitor that. As you're all well aware, we also had an executive session earlier this month related to the ongoing litigation. We now have 8 lawsuits pending against the city challenging the short-term rental ordinance. The last of those that had been filed, or the most recent, I should say, it'll be the last. The most recent of those was filed in state court and also removed federal court today. So they are now all in federal court. At least 7 of them are formally scheduled for mediation in early January, and the parties are engaged in discussions relating to that mediation and whether any proposals will come forward out of that. Of course, you as a commission will be advised of any developments in that regard. Other than that, one of the things I need to remind all of you, in addition to all the discourse around financial disclosure forms and the like, one of the elements of a financial disclosure form, regardless of if it's a Form 1 or a Form 6, is affirming that you've done your 4-hour training on sunshine law, ethics, and public records. That is available. There are versions of that available online through the Florida League of Cities University website. Many of them involve yours truly. If a recorded version is not to your liking, we will be holding one tomorrow. There's a live webinar tomorrow through the Florida League of Cities that I'll be offering in that regard. So a reminder, if you haven't checked that box yet, not on the form, but just doing the task, make sure to do so and go through your 4 hours. Ms. Wilson, Commissioner Wilson, I believe based on the timing that you were appointed, you are not subject to that requirement. However, I would strongly encourage you, if you haven't already done so, I believe you mentioned you're registered.
I'm registered for tomorrow.
So,
See you tomorrow.
Yes, I'll quote unquote see you tomorrow. I get a screen with my slide deck, and I'm told there's several hundred people staring at me, but all I see is my handsome face and the slides. With that, that concludes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Well,
Thank you for an eventful year, by the way.
I guess, Randy, if that Senate bill would pass, what does that mean to us?
That's a very difficult question to answer because we're not even fully in session. So if it passed in its current form, which again, as we saw last session, there may be 11th hour amendments, or the House version may substantially upend what's proposed in the Senate bill, depending on how that power is brokered between the chambers. In its current form, you know, one of the things it does preserve, which doesn't affect this community, it does preserve the 2011 safe harbor or grandfather clause element that all of us have talked about. One of the things it does that communities, I think, generally are okay with is it allows you to keep that preemption if you're going to make your rules less restrictive. So if you're like, hey, we want to open it up to one more zoning district to be allowed, but we still want to protect these other ones, communities can do that. But as it relates to this community, I think the most poignant thing is there's two elements that I think would be of primary concern. The first would be, and this is in lines, I want to say it's, I don't have the exact lines, but the registration requirements. Like last year's proposal, it provides that a city may only require 7 things as part of the registration process. Most of our ordinance that was adopted in May concerned what you have to do to get and retain your registration. So the 7 things that we can require under this proposed legislation is the identification of the owner, that they register with DBPR, the Division of Business and Professional Regulation, that they complete any necessary tax registrations. Should there be a change in ownership, we can require updated information, that they have a designated responsible party, which is favorable, right? That's something that I think is consistent across the board in terms of most communities have that requirement. So it does build that in. One of the, I think, more troublesome or provisions is that it allows for, we may only require that the applicant state the maximum occupancy of the vacation rental based on the number of sleeping accommodations for persons staying overnight. In its present form, sleeping accommodations is not defined. As it reads, it doesn't allow the community to limit that number. It just says they have to tell you what that number is. You know, I think the obvious concerns as we went through all of the concerns in the ordinance adopted in May is if you're going to have an occupancy restriction, how do you define that? Because if it's just sleeping accommodations and sleeping accommodations remains undefined, if I leave, you know, 5 sleeping bags inside of a, you know, 300 square foot room, are those all sleeping accommodations sufficient to say 5 people fit in that room? I don't know. And I'm not trying to offer absurd propositions, it's just, that's a question. So that's one of the other things, I think one of the more poignant ones based on the discourse that was had in this community. The 7th is that they must pay in full all recorded municipal or county code liens. But 1 through 7, that's it. So when you talk about things in our current ordinance like a parking plan, mandatory signage, those sorts of things all fall by the wayside because they're not part of 1 through 7, arguably. And again, we'll have to see how some of the discourse in committee and otherwise and on the floor evolves in terms of what they're saying the words mean. But regardless of what they say the words mean, the words are given their plain meaning. And it would not be the first time that a legislature adopts something thinking it means one thing but find it administered in another. You know, another interesting provision is there is a carve-out that says this subsection, which is all of 509032 as amended, does not prohibit a local government from establishing a law, ordinance, or regulation if it is uniformly applied without regard to whether the residential property is used as a vacation rental. That calls into question whether the reverse implication of that is a new preemption, right? So if you are adopting something that is specific to vacation rentals, is the reverse implication of that language a newer preemption, limiting our ability to regulate that way? So those are some of, I think, some of the standouts. There's plenty more to speak to. It does allow, for example, for the potential suspension or revocation of a vacation rental registration. However, the timelines are substantially abridged. Whereas ours is X amount of violations, I think, in a calendar year or 14 months. And forgive me, I just have a lot of ordinances in my head and I'm trying to remember. In this one, it's, for example, a code enforcement board or special magistrate must recommend the suspension if the owner is found to have one or more violations on 5 separate days in a 60-day period. So substantially short. And then on 5 separate days, not 3, I think, which is the threshold we have. So those sorts of things would fundamentally change it. This is, of course, complicated by the fact that, as I've already stated, we're in ongoing litigation. So in addition to potentially, sidelining, preempting, or voiding provisions of our ordinance, by extension, it may moot or eliminate potentially either the need for the litigation or how the litigation can resolve. In its current form, as written, the contemplated effective date were it to be signed in its current form and signed by the governor in a timely fashion would be that it would take into effect July 1 of 2024. Of course, they can change that date during the legislative session as well. So a lot of meat on the bone in terms of the ordinance or the proposed statute, but and again, we'll have to see what the House churns out and if the two of them can make nice this year. But that's what we're basing as a potential. And again, a lot of the implications. This was just filed in the last 2 weeks, so I'm also still trying to digest and see, you know, is there a comma or a turn of phrase that is of more importance? I was honed in on sleeping accommodation and occupancy because I remember that being there last year. But some of those things, it takes a few read-throughs before you realize the potential implications of language.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Randy?
And for Dan's sake, I'll say that was a loquacious and circuitous exposition.
So, if something passes at all, does it totally, our new ordinance is gone?
Those kinds of blanket statements I can't say that. I think it has the potential to, at best, erode and at worst nullify our ordinance, and it's just going to depend on what happens. And in that exposition, I set forth, I think, the things that would be a primary concern, at least at this stage.
Perfect. All right, we'll go to the commission, and we'll start with our new commissioner, Jan Wilson. Do you have any?
I'd just like to give a good shout out to IRB Home and Beach Art Center for the amazing home tour and how much fun it was to be on the trolley on Saturday.
Nice. Denise?
Dan, I had a meeting with Diane Daniel today, and I've got her sparked up and ready to roll out some new website content, so I think we're gonna meet the January deadline of Planetaria, and we'll get our hands slapped again.
Okay, excellent.
We will go to Lamb.
Okay. First, a shout out for the city helping facilitate the IRB parade. It was amazing. My arm was sore for several days, but we did have a blast. I think everybody on the commission thoroughly enjoyed it and all that. My heart is breaking tonight because I've done a lot of research on Form 6. I've done my ethics training, Randy. I have sat down and spoke with the Ethics Committee of the Florida League of Cities. I've spoke with the Ethics Committee with the state legislature and tried to get my head around Form 6 and what that means for me and over 35% to date of other city commissioners and city officials that have resigned. And with a broken heart, I'm going to read my resignation letter. As City Commissioner for Indian Rocks Beach. Effective December 31st, 2023, I'm resigning as Indian Rocks Beach City Commissioner due to the mandatory Form 6 requirement with the passing of SB 774 and Governor DeSantis signing into law on May 11, 2023. Reluctantly and with a broken heart, I'm unable to continue to serve my community as a city commissioner until this requirement is lifted. I find myself, along with 35% of our locally elected officials, having no choice but to resign my position. This mass exodus makes it evident that our new state mandates are unacceptable. Requiring our local officials to file a full public disclosure of individual financial interests, household assets over $1,000, and income over $1,000, along with the names, addresses of customers and clients online for public disclosure, places our family, businesses, employers, and our clients at risk. Our state government has created this complicated process requiring CPA and legal resources that our smaller municipalities' elected officials do not have. In effect, we would be paying for the privilege to serve and subject to a $10,000 to $20,000 fine if we do not abide by this ludicrous law. I have been asked why SB 774 was passed by many constituents and friends. I can only share that the state is once again attacking our local municipalities' home rule, seeking to weaken local government through their draconian law under the current administration. And we are under attack again with Nick DeSiva's proposed Bill 280, overstepping our local government rule and citizens' choices. With that, effective December 31st, 2023, I will be resigning as city commissioner. I will continue to be active in the community with A2K and various other activities. And again, I'm remiss. My heart breaks that I was forced to make this decision because I did love being a city commissioner. I did love helping people, and but simply I cannot continue under this particular situation.
Well, Lan, if anybody knows this is our second person that has left in less than a month, just about a month. I feel terrible that you're leaving. I know the rest of the commission feels you've worked, you know. Some of the things that are hard is that we have these big agenda packets and you have to read it through them, you know, and then you have to have meetings with the city manager so that you understand what you're reading, especially as a new commissioner, and getting feedback and talking to residents, and it's not as easy as it looks from sitting in the audience, and it's a whole different ball game. And so I also, after Joe and you, it's horrible. And I spoke to Mayor Gaddis, who is our sister community, Bel Air Beach, who has also lost 2 people. And I just, I know that this was mandated. I don't see it changing, I will tell you that. But we will, the Florida League is going to work on it. They have asked, I was in a meeting with the Suncoast League of Cities, and they have asked for us to send how many people and the reasons, so I'm going to make sure that we have your resignation so that we can explain it. And I think that they're going to get in touch with Commissioner McCall, and I just want you to know how sorry I am. I don't know if any of the other commissioners want to say anything at this moment.
I know I was looking forward to working with you in the coming months. I'm sorry to see you go.
Well, now we can talk without officially having a meeting.
There we can have our coffee.
Can I
After December 31st.
After December 31st.
Um,
That includes you too, Chief.
And I'll go into a little bit about this, but I'm gonna have, we're gonna go back to this topic, but I'm gonna, Jude, do you
Yeah.
have any thing that you wanna talk about tonight at all?
Oh,
Jude's home was one of the homes in the parade
yes,
of
it
homes.
was.
And I heard it was fabulous.
It was the best thing ever. Grand time was had by all. That's kind of, I guess, I had a couple of things I wanted to throw out there for consideration in January, but given the current situation, I'll just wait until January.
Okay. Two things I want everyone to know, that the Wreaths Across America that's done at the VA is going to be on Saturday. The homeowners took me last year to put a wreath on my father's grave at the VA. And so after we were all there and we saw how beautiful the whole ceremony was, it starts at 9 a.m. The homeowners decided that they're going to be really involved in it this year. Melissa Dobson, if anybody wants to buy a wreath, she's in charge. I have some of the paperwork. You're more than welcome to call me at my shop tomorrow or on my cell if you would like to buy a wreath. But Melissa Dobson is the one who's really, really involved with it. We're all going to go down at 9 a.m. and then we help take the wreaths off the big trucks and then we help place them. It's very awesome. We have a boat parade on the 16th, and as far as I know, we're still in good shape for the boat parade. So we're just going to say we're going to have the boat parade and everything's going to be wonderful. No, we won't have any terrible weather. It's going to be great. Can't read my writing here. Wow.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
What was the date for the wreaths?
The wreath is the same day as the boat parade. It's the 16th, and it's at 9 a.m. if you want to make it down there at 9 a.m. A lot of us are going together. Okay. From that, I'm gonna talk a little bit now about, if the commission is willing, we'll go through the same procedure that we did in the last situation with Joe McCall. We will consider an appointment with applicants must submit an application no later than 3:30 p.m. On January 3rd, 2024 to the office of the city clerk, which is Lauren. If anyone has any questions, you can call Lauren. Lauren, would you like to give them your number so that we have it on?
Sure. So my phone number is 727-595-2517, but the application and everything will be available on our website. It's very descriptive, but you can certainly call me and I can walk you through it.
Thank you, Lauren. After that, the city commission will interview the applicants at a special city commission meeting on January 9th, like we did previously. It will be at 4 p.m. before a regular city commission meeting, and then we will select an applicant to fill the vacancy who will be sworn in at 6 p.m. on January 9th during our regular, at the very beginning of our regular city commission meeting. This will be a term, Lance's term would expire March of 2025, so it'll be a one-year term, so that everybody understands that. So are there any questions on the commission, and is everybody in agreement that that's okay that we do it in that fashion? Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Lauren, you know we're all in favor of that, okay. With that, I went ahead and did additions and deletions, I'm sorry, ahead of time. We'll move on to the consent agenda number 5, and I'm looking for I'd like Randy to read the consent agenda, please.
There are 2 items on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor. Item A, approval of the November 14, 2023 special city commission meeting minutes, and item B, approval of the November 14, 2023 regular city commission meeting minutes. These are both items on the consent agenda, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, and I'm looking for a motion,
I'd like to make my last motion
You
to
may do
accept the
that.
consent agenda.
and is there,
I will second the motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We do not have any public hearings tonight. Again, just, I'm going to repeat this as our other legislative matters. The city commission will interview applicants. On special city commission meeting, January 9th, 2024 at 4 p.m. Anyone who would like to be considered for the appointment, they need to have their application submitted no later than 3:30 p.m., January 3rd, 2024, to the city clerk. With that, we do not have any work session items. We do not have any other business. I hope all of you have a blessed rest of the season and that we look forward to a wonderful new year. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight.